healthy we are, individual makeup genetically, that's and we are from which population, how we fight with the disease. That is one of the first hypothesis of the gene environment interaction. Can I have next? Yeah. So gene environment interactions are it is basically a phenotypic effect of interaction between gene and environment. As I told you, genes are a very small part of our makeup, and environment has a spectacular impact. So this is a something based on that. This whole concept I made based on the a popular this quote of a journalist, Linda Eller. That it is only our differences are the most susceptible in definition of our similarities. So people are pretty much alike, but they differ with each other with a certain genetic makeup, and that gives you the susceptibility to any disease. Whether you develop a disease or you are able to sustain with the disease, so it is not only the environmental factor, your genetic makeup can be one of the possibility. Can I have next? Vivek, can you change it? So, as I told you, that's so genetic predisposition and environmental factors both together. You can see here in this slides are the most important questions which we have to answer. Can I have next? Yeah. So we have to now have the fourth situation where either genotype with the help of the risk environmental factor convert into disease, or it is the risk factor or environment is mainly causing disease, and genotype come on the way for the affecting the disease. And third situation is that a genotype is mainly responsible for disease, environmental factors stimulated or decrease this phenotypic effect. And last concept is that that's whether this risk factor convert into disease, and genotype may help it as a one of the stimulator for this whole system for that. So these are the four concepts. Based on that, most of my work which I am going to present, and ultimately you have to find out the answer, yes, where we stand. Can I have next? So this is the general scenario every day you see for that people are get exposed to various risk factors, and now it is actually depend on that whether you require a you want to take a risk or you have to take the benefit of it for that, because environmental exposures are much more, and we have to take it with a pinch of salt. Can I have next? This this is a well-known standard textbook. You might be all graduate student will love to have it and see that how this pollutions. I have taken here example of a pesticide over here. How because organochlorine pesticides are very stable, and how they disperse in the throughout the human system through the corpse, soil, air, water, and how they circulate. Can I have next? You see that this is one of the example in the Kerala, that cashew nut factory, how this boy got affected. This lower part got the paralyzed due to the use of endosulfane, and this is one the live picture for that. And very remarkable to note that this pesticide labels we have seen in the blood, urine, the sample of the number of year of the we are almost monitoring is from 2000, from the 1980, I'm monitoring those residues in Delhi population, and it is 2020. Now it is almost 40 years that we are able to see that pesticide are present in the human system. Can I have next? And all the I understand that all the undergraduate students, they know what is a xenobiotic and what is a pesticide, and this every day in the newspaper we find it that pesticide labels in Coca-Cola, pesticide labels in the food, pesticide labels in the different contaminations and exposure. So I have chosen that for the easy example for the mainly for the undergraduate and postgraduate student. Some of the other example of the pesticide exposure you see the hydrocephaly. It is where this head is almost just few days back you might have read in the newspaper the body weight is a 13 kilo of a child and head is a 10 kilo. So this is the one of the child born in the Kerala with this heavily sprayed area with the endosulfane. One of the pesticide is a carbamide pesticide, which actually we are using for the brinjal and ladyfinger, and we are paying a very heavy cost for the neurological disorder, cerebral palsy, for its exposure for that. Can I have next? So overall, if you see the 55 disease caused by the exposure that can be prevented, xenoviride and public health type of pesticide we are using in India, and that's I'm just giving a scenario. But only important part is that that's it is not simply that's your blood glucose level or that's other lipid profile which we are going for, that's monitoring for that. In the longer year, in the coming years, you can find out that so many of the chemicals are going to be polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbon, dioxin, etc., are present in our body, and they are responsible for that. Actually, for basically how they used to get human can get exposed and what are the disease it can cause. Can I have next? So, having said so, I'm just coming to the first part of the my talk. That's yes, how we can prove that we are susceptible to the any of this such environmental insult exposure. Can I have next? If you see that in the body, whenever this small compounds they enter, they have one phase one and phase two metabolizing enzymes, and they take care of their retention in the body or exchange. This is a common for all the BTech and MTech students who are entering in the pharmaceutical industry, who are entering into the different job specialty, with particularly because all the xenobiotics, which include drugs, chemicals, pollutant, they take care of with the help of the present these two system, glutathione phase one and phase two reactions. And I have just shown here with the bar diagram this that some of this gene we have just picked up out of the classical text book and try to see how they are modulated in the Delhi population. Can I have next? And it is very clear over here. If you see that it is any xenobiotic entering in the body is if it get oxidized metabolite, it can get activated with the CYP gene. So it is a bad situation for the man. But suppose it get excreted from the body, most of the time, which you are not noticing, they can have. But this whole process depend on that polymorphism of that your genetic makeup for that, how you are good or bad for that. So if you see that genetic variations, they can be high or low, or they have the deletion of your genes. So this prevalence of variation 5 to 20% and 25 to 50% makes all the things very complicated. From that, if you start from Kanyakumari to Leh and Ladakh, and we monitor in our country northwest, southwest, and if we just go and monitor it in the actually in the world map, so we will find this type of the variation. They fall under 5 to 20% or 25-50%, and that is the real story which you have to work it out. You have to be concerned because this turns to your personalized medicine in future. Can I have next? And this is your basic slide, which I have taken from your textbook for that. It is actually depend on that, your gene expression. gene coding. All of us have the gene. We had never developed the oncogene for the cancer. We never developed the cancer. So it is ultimately it is the how gene get expressed. That is your proteomics part. That is most important. If you see here, that's if the protein less in protein, incomplete protein. So ultimately, this genetic polymorphism and expressions are the most important part, and this you cannot forget, because this will take you the long way when you go for your career in a human health. Can I have next? uh, this environmental toxicology, if you see that we first try to take up first issue, it is Vivek itself. He has worked during his doctorate program. You can see him here. And like the all young audience, they can ask me for that. Yes, what is there in the Delhi population? How we are different? And we have taken one example, CYP, say, one gene. And first we try to answer, yes, we are different from that rest of the world. And this polymorphism in the gene has been observed in nearly 310 samples in Delhi population. And we found that CIP1A1 M1 homozygous mutants, it is 15.5% in the Delhi population, which is different from the other population. Can I have next? Yes. Uh, you can see that subsequently Vivek just tried to for the other genes also, and we have observed the CYP-B1 polymorphism in North Indians are different for the different polymorphic form. So this this gives the message for that solid trend. Yes, we have certain genes. Out of the thousands genes, we have just done the few, and CYP1B11 is one which we have taken. They are different. It is a random selection we have taken for that. So can I have next? Yeah, and if you see here, GST M1, this one we compare it with this different population, Maharashtra, in the Maharashtrian population, South Indian population, and North Indian populations, and Western populations. We stand a very different stand, GST M1 T1 ratio for that. So this clear. Can I have next? Uh, so this is ending the first part of my talk. So what it shows that yes, we may have some high risk alleles which increase in the human populations in Delhi or North India, and their disorder following interaction with the environmental toxin can be a possibility of the disease development. And since we have done only the few genes, we cannot conclude based on that. So genetic polymorphism is association is a disease marker in different population is necessary. Can I have next? So having said so that we have the different genes, and we this I have already given you the proof through the Vivek's work. Now general population, you will ask what is there? If it is we have, how we prove that we can have the different etiology of disease among us for that. So keeping in that view, one best way is that if we can take some control, case control study, when one population is without exposure and other population is with exposure, and that is example of the occupational worker who are involved with this malaria eradication program. And can I have Vivek next? And that one of my student, he joined me, and that's with the occupational worker Satyendra Singh, and he and Vivek, they work together, and based on that, the occupational workers have the different rate of cancer, bladder cancer, liver cancer, as it is shown. So this has given us a concept to just go on, and we find for that this occupationally exposed persons, they if they have the higher DNA break, means it is their DNA can get damaged more. if they have a particular type of the genetic variation, which is, can I have the next, Vivek? Uh, yeah, so you can see that here it is a, they have that here particularly, that's a different type of the genes, that is GST P1. They have the different, the frequency is less comparative to this other normal population. Can I have next? Yeah. So this is the summary of that. Same thing for that. GST null genotype did not find influence DNA damage, but one GST M1 null genotype found to influence DNA damage. So what is the conclusion based on that? Yes, if we take that, so these people as a case control, that one person, general population, other person who are exposed to this pesticide, and if they have such type of the gene, they can have the more DNA damage, which all I understand, all biotechnology students can, at this level, you can always can understand that this DNA can be break easily in such population. Can I have next? Yes, this is the same thing we have shown with the other genes also. Can I just, we can, yeah. Vivek, can I have next? Yes. So what it shows, that what is the take-home message for the second part of my talk, that occupational workers with specific genotypes are the higher risk of DNA damage, higher risk of the development of various disorder in occupational workers. More such genotypes need to be identified. So that is, I think that the task which I can give you to the young workers or young students. Yes, you try to see that how, because I have only addressed with the two or three genes. So because that is not as a holistic. Can I have next? So, having said so, we have seen the normal genes in population, we have seen in the occupational worker. So, you may ask me for that, then what is the next? We all are not the occupational worker, we are not going to get exposed, we take the enough precaution, then what happens? So, what about the non-occupational exposure cases? Can I have next? So, I have taken this example with the various diseases. One of the disease I just taken the adverse reproductive outcome, because the disease, you can, the adverse reproductive outcome you can see by naked eye, and you can find it out whether that this interaction is possible or not. Can I have next? So I just took the intrauterine growth retardation. It means that child is development of the child, the fetus is uh, is not normal comparatively as we expected in the healthy situation for that. And this is the first background where the Siddiqui, one study from ITRC, another study from the Spain, they have shown, yes, pesticide exposure has a high risk of intrauterine growth retardation. Can I have next? And based on this concept, with these papers, when we just took there's some the one of the MD's trend, Isha Sharma and Mustafa, they worked on the basis of this and different genotype. Again, we have taken GSTM1, that gene we have just tested previously, and we found that yes, certain deletion of these genes is responsible for that, making it for that susceptible to the fetal growth of the this population. Can I have next? Yes, same interaction. Then we try to pinpoint, yes, what is the pesticide in this label, and we found for that para DDD. This, if you see that, this is the major one of the culprit for that, which is the responsible for that such type of the low weight birth for that. Can I have next? Yes, and we also found the gamma SCH, and that is a hexachlorocyclohexane, which is very commonly known as the gamaxine powder. Both are significantly associated with the intrauterine growth retardation. And is the Rahul Pathak who completed his work PhD thesis showing that yes, uh, their presence is very, very important as a oxidative stress marker, which all of you know. These pesticides can cause. I'm not going into the detail of this mechanism, but it shows that their presence is going to change that your what birth weight or retard of the size of the baby. Can I have next? So, uh, they further this uh, pesticide exposure also we have seen there may be chances for the preterm birth, because that is another birth defect which you can see observe in that. Instead of taking, suppose I have taken the birth defect which is invisible, phenylketonuria, or some such example which is to be monitored under microscope, so you cannot appreciate. But here if you see that preterm birth, maybe have a normal birth weight of 3 kilo. Instead of that, it is having the even in the few gram less or few gram up. It is going to the matter. Can I have next? And this was a Vivek, can I have next? Yeah, and this is the association of glutathione S transferase, another gene which has been found in the significantly higher in subject who has the delivered the baby in the preterm baby. Means instead of that, it is having a full term baby. It is born in a particularly GST M1 and GST1. This deletions resulted into that. Uh, Preterm labor of the baby. Can I have next? Yes, and we have also seen that they also resulted into certain GSTM1. If we divided that, all of them in the different category based on the genetic marker, the different population, and we have seen that they vary in the DNA damage, they vary in the oxidative stress. So different people having the different markers of GSTM1 and their presence or absence, deletion or addition, they are different in their disease outcome. Can I have next? And we also proved finally this organochlorine compounds are responsible for the as a gene environment interaction. This is the first paper where the molecular human reproduction were we able to prove that level of these pesticides are going to matter when this is come for the question of that any of the birth defect. Can I have next? So again, that is another. We further proved it by the genotyping distributions of that. Again, a different population, that is the SCH presence of SCH and the other genotypic gene. Can I have next? We can skip this because it's the same. Vivek, skip next one. Uh, uh, yeah. Uh, Next. Vivek, next. Yeah. So because both are the same gene, different experiments I was showing it here, and the another pathway that is also known as that actually that's inflammatory pathway, which is taken place with the TNF alpha and COX2. So idiopathic pathway we followed in the next thesis instead of that drug metabolism enzyme pathway, and we find yes, they are very different here in the case of that. And ultimately, one of the PhD students who joined me, and they able to show that yes, variation in the TNF alpha expression is going to matter in the case of idiopathic preterm birth. So that is clear because I'm talking about the cytokines levels and how they are going to variation, and that resulted, as you know, in the today's in the COVID case, that everything is important over here because they are talking about the body immunity, and we are also talking about the same thing. Yes, that this is the uh, body immunity is going to measure for that for the protection of the human population. Can I have next? Okay. Fine. So this all we have talked about basically about till now for the birth defect, which is visible. And another birth defect I can show you that is one of my students. He has worked. That's Dr. Chandrasekhar Yadav. That is a genetic defect which all of us. Vivek, can you put that next figure? Yeah. So this genetic defect is a male genital defect where the urinary opening is on the is actually you can see on the tip. Uh, oh, what happened? Yeah. What do you find that urinary opening is on the just on the instead of the tip of the penis, it is on the side way. So this they have found in the certain ethnic population, and they find that it is due to the genetic defect. But next slide, Vivek. Next slide. But when we subjected to this patient with the help of pediatric department of AIMS and UCMS, and we find that yes, they have different organochlorine pesticide labels over here, and higher OCP labels is responsible for such endocrine disruptive potential of the estrogens and anti-estrogenic property, and causing this such type of the birth defect. Can I have next? So similarly, we have shown their labels. That's particularly GST M1 and GST1 that is responsible for that. There's a major birth defect. Can I have Vivek next? And then it comes for that one of the very easy example, cancer. That is the one question all of you must be in your mind. Whether the put the next. Quick, put them next. And this one of the cancer, like the we have worked on the prostate cancer, we have worked on the cervical cancer, breast cancer, and here I have taken an example of the ovarian cancer, and we found that the presentation is going on in the lab where we have found that yes, organochlorine labels are responsible for the basically for the epithelial. mm, uh, Epithelial ovarian cancer for that. And we be able to clearly show the presence of the environmental stressors with the degree of the association for the ovarian cancer. Can I have next? Yes. So this is the take-home message. The gene-environment interaction and identification of Harris phenotype in etiology of epithelial cancer, which we have achieved through the microarray here, but you can do that's taking single gene with the help of only the PCR or RT-PCR for that time being. And there is a battery of tests. We have already suggested that there is a signaling pathway for that, how this various genes can get activated at the cellular level as well as the molecular level. Can I have next? Next two slide. Yeah, this I have spoken. Next one. This is where I have just shown you that how this pesticide just now, which I told that that's how they are. So ultimately, we able to identify with the help of the microarray example, microarray, though it is a little expensive, but this gives you a lot of information on the gene ontology and disease biomarker. Where these genes are responsible, like we have suggested, it is a lung, it is thoracic, it is a cellular component. So if you just you can divide doing the microarray, you can find out many of the activation genes which can be your next target for your study. Especially I am just addressing the undergraduate students. You should know about gene and how to target them, and because it is a platform where you can select based on the present paper for that. Can I have next? Vivek, can I have? So, can I have Vivek next? Yeah. So this is the take-home message: the functional analysis of different regulated genes. They have. I have just given you the few. These are the genes. These are the pathway. So you one can just select and they can keep doing for the next step of the work. Can I have next? Yeah, and these are the certain pathways with the with the same experiments we able to tell you that's which is the network how they can work and they can, and I think the bioinformatics because that is a part of your study for the all BTech and MTech biotechnology where they can study that bioinformatics and how to pick up these genes and that can carry on this one. Can I have next? Rick, can I have next? And this ultimately the signaling pathway is looks like that. So many pathways here, so we have only selected very few genes, but this microarray can handle thousands of genes together for that. And you can see this upregulation of the pathway, this which is shown in the red, and downregulation of certain pathway. So all the genes they behave in the different way. It shows, and their exposure to the organochlorine compounds are having different aspects for the this etiology. Can I have next? Yeah. So this is one of the pathway we have just discussed. Can I have next? Uh, yeah, you can skip the rest too. And then finally we will just going to conclude this part, that is etiology. We have shown also the bladder cancer is one of the very common in Indian population for that. And Harish, as a MS surgery student, we have proved that in the North Indian population presence of this OCP label are responsible for the bladder cancer too. Can I have next? And very recently, we have seen that there's a breast cancer also one of the possibility for that uh, for the etiology of the cancer. And we have tried the BRCA gene for that. Is as you know, it is one of the very popular gene for the cancer marker. Can I have next? Uh, this Vivek also proved that actually that this is his PhD thesis work that beta ICH and DD is presents is responsible for the prostate cancer for the etiology. And because earlier we are not knowing, though, etiology of cancer is a very important topic in the cases where it is a non-genetic. So who is responsible for such a markers for that? Can I have next? I think you can skip next two, three, uh, and come to the fourth. Come to that. Yeah, and ultimately, recently was of course it's more than 2 years were the we able to give us one of the biomarker for the bladder cancer with the presence of a GST1 genes in a given population. So that we have proved in the case control study, taking the organochlorine compound, and one of the possibility for that how they can be না পরে বলছি আমি বন্ধ করে দাও পরে কথা বলছি ওইদিকে হবে আমি ক্যামেরাতে আছি প্লিজ জাস্ট সেকেন্ড ওর কাছে মামার কাছে এই নাও Yeah, sorry for the break. And ultimately, these uh, able to prove that yes, urinary bladder cancer, ovarian cancer, and prostate cancer are responsible for the environmental stress. So, Vivek, can I have next? So finally, having said so about the so specific diseases, reproductive, one of the very common, somebody can ask me for that, what is going to affect for that in the case of metabolic disorders. That is very common in the in the Indian population. So is anybody knows about it for that? What is the metabolic disorder? One of the common example is diabetes. Can I have the next? And diabetic and the chronic kidney diseases. So what happened? We have just tried to find out the organochlorine pesticide labels in chronic kidney diseases, and it was very surprising that we found that high levels of the pesticides uh, in the case of basically in the kidney failure cases for that. So that is our first proof. Yes, that CKD can be the one of the cause of the pesticide exposure for that. Can I have next? Yes, and then we looked for that. There's the same thing in OCP labels in CKD, and we able to find out yes, they are also responsible for that. OCPs, you see, they are basically responsible for that. One of the unknown cases of CKD, that is chronic kidney disease. Can I have next? Then we have tried also with the try to link it with that. Uh, that's how the CYPA, one gene polymorphism and chronic kidney diseases are the responsible, and we able to link both of them and showing that yes, genetic polymer heterozygous variant of CYPA1A is responsible for the etiology of the CKD. Can I have next? Yeah. So this again the another experimental proof showing that oxidative stress is responsible for the CKD, and pesticide are the culprits for causing the such type of oxidative stress. I think we can. And next, Vivek, and finally here we able to pinpoint yes certain genetic polymorphism when we have done as a taking the different population based of genetics, be able to show that yes, they are responsible for the CKD. For that, in particularly in the population GST-M1 and GST-T1 deletion. Can I have next? And one more example, last example, probably we are taking for the any nervous system disease. Can I have next? And when we looked for that, Alzheimer and Parkinson, both are the very common disease in India. And when we took for the Alzheimer, we found that yes, their distribution is also depend on the basically ApoE gene. If you see that it is here, it is yeah, it is showing that when we distributed that GST1 genetic polymorphism and GST1 deletion is responsible for that found associated with the Alzheimer's disease. So it is not that if you see that actually that's all of us never developed the Alzheimer or all of us never developed the Parkinson. So my question is here, my main hypothesis here, if you have the GST1 genetic polymorphism, you have more chances to develop the disease, as well as you can still the worse if you get exposed to the pesticide and other molecule in such situation. Can I have next? It is again what I have been just now I told you see that be able to pinpoint is a dialed and beta SCH in this Alzheimer cases, which is aggravated the beside the ApoE4 gene that is a known marker, and other markers as the pesticide we have shown here is the gamma SCH. Can I have next? Yes. It's the same thing I have explained over here. We can skip this one. So, which is the final conclusion of my talk, that is susceptible genotypes uh, can be one of the risk factor for various diseases. I have given you the example of preterm birth, IUGR, prostate cancer, birth defect, metabolic disorder, neurodegenerative disease. And beside gene uh, gene environment interaction, concept of gene gene interaction, which I have not tried in none of these experiments, is one of the prerequisite to explore, and how the people are talking about the different gene gene interaction. So this is concluding my the major part as a disease burden. Can I have next? So we can reaching to the final conclusion. Can I have the next? Yeah. So ultimately, it is a gene. If it is you remain is a normal environment, a green environment exposure, or it is a genetic susceptibility and immune disease. The question we started very beginning for that. Now you must be able to answer it for that. Is a reality or a myth? You have seen the various concrete example for its possibility. Of course, the behavior, age, gender, nutrition, stress, all the factors I have not counted at the moment. So this is the summary which you can take as in the future for it's the past in for the possibility for the taking it in for the future. Can I have next? So I think that we are coming to our concluding concept for that. If you see that genes are, we started with the concept that genes are only a small part of our makeup, and the environment has susceptible impact. And we found that yes, cancer, Parkinson, they are basically about many of them are the non-genetic, or but it has aggravated with the help of the genetic polymorphism and environmental exposures in a certain situation. Can I have next? And this series of the slides, Vivek, you can keep changing for that. For that, you just it is keep showing that yes, these are the culprit. Whatever I have that, particularly here, you see, be able to pinpoint. Yes, this is the gene, and this is the associated for that. And you see that this is the take-home message of the translation research. We are susceptible, we are safe, or we are most, because ultimately why we are doing research to give it the general population. Yes, what is the situation over here uh, after exposure, whether we will more susceptible or we remain the safe zone. So that is the translation research of the whole book. Can I have next? Yes, and again, that's for Alzheimer. You can skip, you can just keep rolling it, Vivek. And this is whatever I have told you. Those I have given it here. Can I have next for that? Can I have next? Yeah. So ultimately, we can always make a chart for that. If you see here very clearly in this picture, in this table, the gene variant in the study, we already we have taken the fixed gene, we have taken the transcript, this transcriptional labels of that, whether this mRNA or DNA, which I have not talked in detail, because keeping in mind that we are not for the undergraduate label, and we have pinpointed environmental exposure, and we pointed that we can say that's whether we are relatively risk for the a disease or not for that. So it is a final conclusion. So this is, you have to decide that xenobiotic exposure we cannot undermine, and this is remain one of the very important aspect. And genetic loads the gun, and environment will pull the triggers, and exact mechanism how the this xenobiotic is susceptible is still not known, which you have to think about it. And disease development is not clearly understood, and what is the acceptable daily intake or no observed effect labels of these chemicals is still a big question. So those are that I'm leaving these questions to the young faculty and young students, how to decide that what is a safe zone. Can I have next? So these are the expected knowledge. So you must fix up the genetic susceptibility variants, and it should try to find out the phenotypic variations, and as well as the gene environment interaction and gene interaction for etiology of disease. And I think this research need in this area, particularly gene interaction epigenetics. Can I have next? Can I have next, Vivek? Yeah. So this is the expected outcome which you can we expect from the young audience, that in future we can just think about for the this complex diseases, as one of the we are finding it in the case of the COVID, how we are related to it. Can I have next? Uh, yes, of course. This part I'm not going to uh, deal much now, because I'm just closing my talk, but I'll just give you one of the example of that pharmaceutical industry, where there's famous actors Angela Jolie, depending on the BRCA gene, they have undergone for the mastectomy, and but actually we cannot take the genetic as a final conclusion unless the disease occur, and this occurrence of disease depend on that, basically on the type of the genes, type of the environmental stresses it is facing. Can I have next? I think the go to the next, and we can, yeah. So this is maybe my concluding slide, where that's chemical interaction, social environment, physical environment. So many things are complicated, but ultimately healthcare and the gene expression depend side by side. And I've shown some of the possible diseases side by, which is we are concerned with the environmental stressors and body development, growth, birth defect, and respiratory diseases, and ultimately causing the human health. Can I have next? So I think that's always that it is not a 2 + 2 is equal to 4. It is sometime it is I think it is all the young student they like this cartoon. We cannot believe that having a known genetic makeup will result it into the better genetic makeup. It is not possible, and this is one of the famous cartoon that it shows that always it can be manipulated in between with the various factors. Can I have the next? So thank you so much. These are my students who contributed, present in the lab. And of course, most of my past students, I have already acknowledged them at the time of my presentation with their pictures. And this is a present scenario. Can I have next? And Rick, can I have next? Rick, can I have next?
I think, sir, this
Yeah.
was the last slide, I guess.
Acha, this was the last slides. Okay. So that was so thank you so much. Um, uh, uh, Thank you so much. And I finished with this, and now it is open for discussion. And I hopefully you're able to understand that my take-home message is, if we come back to my first slide, is that it is which is more important. This you have to decide. It is a myth or it is a reality, as prevalent for the most of the diseases.
Thank you,
Thank you so
sir.
much.
Thank you. Thank you, Professor Banerjee, for the wonderful talk. Hope our students have very well understood the toxic effect of xenobiotics on the health of occupational and non-occupational workers and the birth defect associated with them. Now, I would actually like to invite the students, if you have any queries, you can ask your
Yeah,
questions, you can write
sure,
here in the chat box.
sure.
And also you can unmute yourself, and you want to ask, you can directly ask
Yeah,
your
yeah,
questions.
sure,
Yeah.
sure. It's welcome. Thank you so much.
You can speak your question instead of typing. Student Kashyap especially.
Kashyap Riyas, yeah. Important. Yeah, if they speak, that will be more easy. Whether because my it is an that phone book, it is a small letters, na? So if they speak, it will be better.
Kashyap,
Uh,
unmute yourself.
Important attribute whether we talk about the environment. So we would like to know the role of temperature plays ecology. Okay. Uh, yes. Uh, Hello. Can you hear me?
I think Kashyap is not able to unmute herself.
Acha.
Yes, but she can always hear you, sir.
Acha, okay. So it is a good question he has asked. But whether this is a question, if it is a general question for any virus, that is okay. Then I have an answer for that because he is asking about the coronavirus, huh? The COVID-19. So that is still people are observing for the temperature variation. Actually, it is not working with this temperature variation. But 99% virus work with the temperature variation. That's the reason you will find the influenza, cough, cold, they come with the season and they disappear with the season for that. In the so that is true in the general virology, but particularly we have to wait for the coronavirus to see whether they listen. But only the important take-home message is that yes, global warming and temperature, we are concerned. That part I have not addressed over here, but we have done some work.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, anything else?
Any other
Yes,
questions?
student. You are free to ask anything, any kind of questions you have in your mind, students. You won't get this opportunity again.
Yeah, I will be welcome. It's really welcome. That's if anybody, Kashyap Rais has asked only one. Kashyap Rais, acha. And Chechak Anand, yes, uh, acha,
He
any
wants the
question?
presentation actually. He wanted the presentation that you have
Actually,
shared.
you will be shared the Priya Rajkumar. We will share the Acharika. Okay, fine. No, not an issue. That's a presentation is there, so always you can share it for that. And I think Vivek can share that because they are, many of are interested on the coronavirus. So recently it has been shown that it's a very good paper. It has been published just 2 days back. That it is actually it is a redox potential in the body, which is responsible for the making the patient safe or subject safe for the coronavirus. And we have extensively, though we have worked on glutathione system, but I never knew it is that easy a task to answer. But it is a good paper, so I think that all of you can take the paper. Vivek has the paper. You can read it. That is
Yes,
very
sir.
good. Yeah. Can I have this? Any other question if anybody has?
So I think
I hope it is able to they able to understand, or because I cannot go much more simpler, though it should be for the undergraduate level. But this is basically based on the two technique, only PCR and RT-PCR, and one gas chromatography, whole experiment. So it can bring wonder if you add these three in your protocol, and we can answer many of the environmental health issues.
yes, sir. So I think all questions are over. I think I would like to ask our HOD ma'am, Professor
Yes.
Rashmi Chandra, for delivering vote of thanks.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank
Rashmi
you,
ma'am.
Shomani. Thank
Yeah.
you, Shomani.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Banerjee, for enlightening us about gene-environment interaction. Our students will surely benefited by the talk. I am thankful for my faculty member for regular arrangement of webinar for the student benefit. Thank you, Dr. Vivek, for arranging such a nice talk, such a nice lecture. Also, I am thank you for my acknowledge seeking student. Thank you everyone. Thank you Ranjan sir. Thank you Shomani. Once again, thank you Dr. Banerjee. Thank you very
Yeah.
much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. It is my pleasure. If anybody has any question, always they can write me. My email ID is given there, banerjeebd@hotmail.com, or you can be WhatsApp me also your questions, and we can interact. If any benefit for the students, always it.
Sure, sir.
Sure, sure.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
so very much.
Thank you, Vivek.
Thanks a lot, sir. It's been a
Okay.
pleasure to
No,
you
no.
have
I hope
here.
I hope it is a little easy and everybody is able to understand. That is the only thing for that. I have tried to keep as easy as possible, so escaped most of the complicated slides.
Okay,
Yes.
sir. I'm there for student if they
Yeah,
have any doubt.
any doubt for this? Sure, we, we, we can get back.
Thanks
They
once
can.
again, sir.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.